Alright, welcome to Franchise Friday. We continue with the Critters franchise with Critters 4, which for a long time was the final film in the franchise, and I guess chronologically it would be the final film. It takes place in the future. So this film kicks off right after the end of the last one. We see something crash through at the end of the last one. Like, oh, to be continued. What's going on? And then it's actually a space pod, and Charlie goes to put the last two Krite eggs in because apparently now you're not allowed to kill the Krites because they're the last two in existence. Again, I have to call bullshit because you've seen them lay eggs so easily. And those are the only two eggs that they laid for the entire last film, besides the ones that hatched. I don't think so. We are shown numerous times that they could lay eggs very quickly and very often, and yet they're supposed to be, these are the only two. And they carry that in this one too. Charlie goes to put the eggs in, but he gets frozen and stuck in this pod. It launches into space, and 53 years later, in the year 2045, because this is 53 years later, but wouldn't it be 2044? Because, like, didn't the third one take place in 1991? I don't know. But anyway, so yes. I don't know what it is about space movies, man. Space sequels, I should say. I seem to kind of like them a little bit. I mean, not counting alien films. When they take stuff and put it into space as a last resort, I actually kind of like it. I don't know why. Hellraiser Bloodline is probably one of my favorite Hellraiser movies, weirdly enough. My most recent rewatch of Leprechaun 4, I actually kind of enjoyed it for the goofy, schlocky film that it is. Jason X, never hated that film. Always thought it was pretty good. Decently made film for me anyway. So, not really against the going to space thing. And like I said before, if you're going to take one franchise and put it into space, Critters would work. I mean, come on. They're from space, so it should work. So I didn't mind this one. I actually liked it a little bit. I liked it better than the third one. The third one was just boring and stupid, and just, no, I didn't like it at all. So, yes, there are some things, though. It's 40 minutes in before we even get the Critters. 40 minutes. We spend 40 minutes with this crew from a salvage ship that find the pod and then take forever to freaking open it. We meet these characters. I get it. You establish characters. But in horror movies, characters in horror films, are often just cannon fodder for the main, thing. So we meet these characters. We meet Albert Duwerts. Albert, played by Brad Dourif, who's probably the best actor in this film. We meet Fran, played by Angela Bassett. Big name actors. We get the captain, who's an asshole. I don't know who he's played by. I'm guessing Paul Whitthorne. We get a kid who's not Leonardo DiCaprio, but I guess they were trying to find someone close to Leonardo DiCaprio because he's a Leo clone. I actually kind of liked him too, and of course Charlie is there. There's another guy there with a ponytail. He's an idiot because he dies while trying to get drugs. Charlie is there eventually. So I already mentioned one continuity error. They say it's 53 years later, although the third one took place in 91. So it will be 52 years later, not 53 years later. But that's, you know. Charlie wakes up because let it be known that the critters were woken up because the captain couldn't get any. Because they figure out that it's from their old Galactic Federation, whatever you call it, and they put out a trans beacon. Ugg, or whatever he's called now, answers and says, "Do not open it. We will send you to a station." They get to the station, it's completely empty because Ugg's not stupid. They're going to send him to the empty one just in case they do open it. There's no victims, so that's smart. But ultimately, Ugg is the villain of this film, and I know I've complained about you don't need a humanoid type villain or another villain other than the critters. But I think it works, and it ends in a showdown between him and Charlie that I actually really like. I'll get to. Yeah. And so they're on this station, and Fran's taking a shower. Captain comes in, and he, goes over the thing, and he kind of smiles at her, and she smiles at him like they're going to do it. And she punches him in the face, in the nose. And they all laugh at him, and this is what triggers him to think, fuck it. I'm going down, and I'm going to open that thing. He does. He finds Charlie, and the eggs have hatched, although that makes no sense because they were frozen. Did they hatch before they were frozen? Because we saw they didn't. But they hatched. Was it that quick? Were they still frozen? I'm assuming they were still frozen because Charlie didn't bang for 40 minutes. But Charlie's out, and we get our first continuity error with the eggs. Well, later. They find more eggs later, and Fran starts to smash them. And we get a continuity error where Charlie says they incubate for 2 weeks. Bullshit. No fucking way they incubate for 2 weeks. I mean, the ones from the end of the first one to the second one incubated for 2 years. So they incubate for as long as it works for the filmmakers. But no, they do not incubate for 2 years because the film came before this, the one that this film was connected to. The eggs laid underneath the car, and when they got back to the apartment building, they hatched right fucking away. So no, there's not a 2 week period, and it didn't take no 2 weeks to get from where Charlie was to the apartment building. I'll guarantee that. So ain't no 2 week incubation period. Alright? There's an incubation period of we gotta save our assets because we don't have a budget. So we have to explain why there isn't a bunch of crates running around this place. There's some, but there's not a bunch. For the longest time, there's only 2. And then there's a couple multiplayer. I think there's maybe a handful. 5 or 6. Maybe 8. But there's not that many. And they got, because budget. Because they decided to split it into 2 films instead of putting all the budget into 1 film to make a great third one. No, we're going to take our budget, split it into 2, so we can make 2 films back to back. And that hurt them, and you can tell. There's horrible CGI to show the thing floating through space. It's just, no. But for me, this film is enjoyable, and I really got to the climax when Ugg and his stormtroopers show up, and they make a reference to the stormtroopers. Also, they reference Star Trek by saying, "Make it so, aye, Captain." Brad Dourif is the only smart one because he wants to get the hell out of there, but no one wants to listen to him, apparently. And one thing that did make me roll my eyes is it's obvious that the writers said, we need to make sure, these characters are ready to run back to their ship and fly off. Oh, we need to make sure that they don't leave. So they wrote in a malfunction of the space station to lock everything up so they can't move. So they're just going down and going down and going down, and they don't leave. So they're not able to leave. I don't know. The ponytail guy dies because he's trying to collect drugs, medicine. I don't know. Charlie's wearing this pink and blue t-shirt striped T-shirt, which is I think it's kind of cool. They get him new shoes, and here's another continuity error, or not continuity error, but here's a little dimension 53 years, which I told you is 52, because he came from 91, not 92. This movie was released in 92, but Charlie is from 91. That's when the third one came out. So, yeah, continuity error there. So they said everyone Charlie knows would be dead, and I say that's bullshit. This is 52 years later. Brad Brown could still be alive at 70-something years old, right? He was a teenager. He was like, what, 14? Right? In the last one. In the second one, we saw him. And that was 89? 80? I don't know. But he could be in his 70s at this point. The little kid in the third one, he was like 8 years old. He could be in his 60s. Not everyone he met is dead in 2045, alright? They could still be alive. You know, especially that little kid could be in his 60s. You know? So that's a little bit presumptuous. They just assume that everyone he knows is dead. And you know, I was thinking, oh, that means Earth was destroyed. But later we see the Krites, because somehow, well, we know they can fly ships from the first one, I guess. But they set coordinates to Earth. So Ugg shows up, and he's still wearing Johnny Steele's face from the first one, which I find to be weird. And it ages for some reason. I don't know. And he's going by a different name now. I don't know. I don't care what his name is. And he's the bad guy. And he and Charlie have this standoff. And I think it's a great character moment for Charlie, actually, where this guy's been his friend for how long? 53 years later. And now he's become, you know, a villain. Well, Charlie believes that the Krites should be destroyed. The Krites should not exist. You know, endangerment be damned. Right? These things are dangerous. That calls into question, you know, should every endangered species that is dangerous die? No. But we've seen the damage these things can do. Not in this film. They dumbed it down because of budget. But we've seen the damage these things can do. So, endangered or not, they deserve to die. And so there's a standoff, and Charlie has an old revolver, and Ugg says, "Does that antique still work?" Damn straight. Of course it does. It was with Charlie. It was frozen. Yes, 53 years, but it's as new as Charlie is right now. So of course he shoots Ugg. He dies. It's a great character for Charlie. He's come over, well, until the end of this film, he's gone from bumbling drunk to an actual hero. Charlie saves the day. They get out of there, they get in an alien ship, or the Federation ship, whatever, and they fly off. The movie ends with Charlie hitting the hyperdrive button. And I'm sitting going, Charlie, don't push it. Don't push it. He's like, Captain Charles, whatever his last name is, I forget. I forget what his last name is, but McFadden. Captain Charles McFadden. And he pushes the red button. Charlie, you never push the red button, man. And he does, and it's the hyperdrive, and it goes into the camera and stuff. It's, you know, I didn't hate this one. I actually rather liked it. Not as good as the first two, but not bad. Not as bad as the third one. I have a feeling, though, that I'm going to be severely disappointed with Critters Attack. As a whole, though, I don't hate... I'm going by the original quadrilogy here. I don't hate these films. I think they're all decent films. Yes, the budget gets lower and lower and lower, but I never had a problem with any of these. But, yeah, as for the fourth one, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. It's not that bad. I actually kind of enjoyed it. I put it up there with all those other space-themed horror films. Not like horror sequels. Because I don't want to compare it to Alien or Aliens, because it's not that. Alien Resurrection, maybe. Because I don't hate Alien Resurrection, but, it's decent. So what are your thoughts on Critters 4? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. We got more to go. And I'll see you in the next one.